Is kind of in shambles at the moment, a little disheveled, so figured I'd just go live quick from my phone. I wanted to talk about my experience at the local convention that I went to. Ran DC 20 for the convention. Um, MePaCon is pretty cool for their GMs. If you volunteer to run at least 12 hours of games, you get free entry into the convention and a free t-shirt. So it's pretty nice perks. And for the weekend, the cost to go is $75. So between that and a t-shirt, it's like $100 value, for doing something that I enjoy, like running DC 20 anyway. Large shout out to my wife Allie for these t-shirts that she got me for my birthday. Some of you may have seen already. I've posted pictures, but the back is really cool too. It says, "What if D&D and Pathfinder had a baby? Ask me about DC 20." So something that's really cool with the back design is it's white lettering for what if, and then D&D is in red because D&D's traditional color is red, and then a white plus sign, and then Pathfinder is in like a tan, a light tan, which is again one of Pathfinder's colors. So cool. And then had a baby is in white lettering with ask me about in purple lettering leading into DC 20, purple being its color, finally with a DC 20 logo. I was going to get a big logo on the front, but I decided to do the small pocket logo. I thought with the big logo on the back, the pocket logo was the best way to go. So if I get viewers while I'm live, I'll interact with the chat. If I don't, I'm just going to run through my experience with the convention, and then the live stream will be up on the channel. So if you're checking this out later, I'm sorry that you missed the opportunity to interact with me personally. Maybe in the future, we can connect on a live. Oh, I've got some viewers. Hey guys. So I was just saying that I Hey, so I was just saying that MePaCon does something really cool for people who volunteer to run games there. They'll give you free access to the convention, which is a $75 value if somebody were to pay for a badge for the weekend, and they give you a free t-shirt. So $100 value to volunteer your time for 12 hours to run games. And I mean, for me, it's not like it was work. I got to run DC 20 3 times, and I wanted to talk about the experience that I had running those games. But if you guys have any questions, I will interact with the chat. Okay, so Friday I ran The Hunted. The party for that game, I had a cleric, a wizard, and a commander. I made 8 pre-gens. In addition to the cleric, the wizard, and the commander, I also built a champion or fighter, as they were known before. I mean, currently still, it's changing in 0.9. A monk, a bard, a spellblade, a barbarian. I had 8 classes anyway. The spread of what people wanted to play was kind of interesting. The cleric got played 3 times, which kind of makes sense. Players are worried about, I need a healer, so it kind of makes sense that in every single game there would be at least one cleric. The commander, the spellblade, and the barbarian got played 2 times. Kind of makes sense to me too. Commander and spellblade are different. You don't get to play them in like D&D or other systems. The Barbarian, I think it got played more than the others because it's a pretty simple class in that you rage and hit things. The Wizard got used one game, and then the Fighter, the Monk, and the Bard, nobody used at all. I was honestly a little bit surprised with the Monk because... Okay. Question? Okay. When I see your question, I'll... Okay, so we have a rude person in the chat who has now been blocked. Thank you very much for being just a terrible person. So, in the first game on Friday, they won both skill challenges pretty easily. Blew them out of the water, really. And they did pretty well in the combat. In general, the players in that game seemed to have a good time. Saturday, I had a cleric, a barbarian, a spellblade, and a commander. That game was interesting for me because I was running it for one of my friends. It was his first time playing DC 20. He notoriously rolls bad in D&D, so the ability to give yourself advantage in DC 20, I figured would be the ability to give yourself advantage in DC 20, I figured would be something that he would appreciate in DC 20 versus playing D&D where, you usually don't have advantage. So anyway, he usually rolled low. He got to take advantage of Empower to gain advantage, and somebody else at the table actually rolled worse than him. So he said that was also nice. But they did really bad at the skill challenges. The coolest moment, though, probably out of the 3 games that I ran, was the spell duel between the rival cleric and the cleric in the party. The rival cleric was going to heal the barbarian, and the player character cleric didn't want that, of course, so he triggered a spell duel. The check on the enemy was 11. The check on the PC was 11. When it's a tie, the spell's countered, and it triggers a wild magic surge. Both the enemy cleric and the PC cleric rolled on the wild magic table. And in a stroke of luck there, the enemy cleric turned himself into a sheep, and the player cleric turned himself into a young purple dragon. On the next turn for the now purple dragon cleric player, he promptly killed another one of the rivals and ate him. So it was a pretty epic moment. The game Sunday, I had a cleric, a barbarian, and a spellblade. They kicked the rivals' butt so bad. It was probably one of the fastest combats that I've seen. On turn 1, the enemy barbarian ran in and grappled the spellblade. When it was the spellblade's turn, he got off 2 attacks with his brass knuckles. The first one was a critical. and the second one was a really high attack, not a critical, but he had added a smite to it. And then followed up with Shocking Grasp, which put that enemy barbarian pretty close to taking out just at that first turn in combat. I don't even think he got a second turn after that. The final encounter with the Krasis was very interesting in that one, where the person who lost the fate roll that the Krasis jumped on and knocked prone, he actually got swallowed before his first turn in combat, so he started the encounter inside the belly of a Krasis. That's about all I had for the games that I ran personally. I did want to shout out to StratoNexus, who ran the DC-20 game that I actually got to be a player in. Wasn't the first game that I got to be a player in. I had played in somebody's game on startplaying.games, but it was really nice to play in person and to play with our patron. He did a really good job explaining the game, and he did a really good job building the encounters that we were dealing with, between making the world feel real and the adventure that we were going on. Some interesting skill challenges. The combat that we did was a lot of fun. He allowed me to build my own character for it, so I had made a 0.9 inspired fighter. I know that 0.9 is not out yet, but the abilities of the 0.9 fighter kind of intrigued me, so it was nice being able to play it. I thought that the adaptive tactics, where you get a D8 tactical die when you roll initiative, and then at the end of each of your turns, you can use it to either add to your physical defense or to an attack roll. So essentially, getting it back at the end of your turn means that you always have it to add to your defense if you need to, but you can, if you don't need it for that, adding a D8 to your first attack every turn, it just led to some really good attack rolls. And one time I did actually need it to reduce the damage off of a crit. So a really cool ability, and it makes you feel like a weapon master. And even their level 1 ability, where at the start of combat you can choose to either gain advantage on your first saving throw, and get the benefit of dodge, so that the first attack against you is disadvantage, or you could get a free movement and then have advantage on your first physical check, which includes an attack roll. It's cool. It definitely makes you feel like a fighter. So anyway, big shout out to StratoNexus. I had a great time playing in your game. And the other game that I got to play in, so normally when I go to MePaCon, I would probably play like 2 games on Friday, 3 games on Saturday, and 2 games on Sunday. And in there, I would be running 3 sessions out of those time slots. But this time, I was driving back and forth. We weren't staying there. And we're also working our ornament stand. So I didn't have the ability to really spend as much time as I would have liked at the convention. So the only other game that I got to play was a Pathfinder 2nd Edition game. It was Pathfinder Society, and it was a multi-table event. It was the first multi-table event that I've played, and it was a lot of fun. So I'm looking to see if I can recreate the feel of a multi-table event online with my play group. But essentially, if you've not heard of them, it's a bunch of tables all playing the same adventure. In this case, we needed to investigate what was going wrong with the road of the open, the maze of the open road. It, Normally, the Pathfinder Society would use the maze to quickly traverse the world, but all of the paths, no matter where they tried to go, were all leading to one point. So we had to figure out, why that was happening. But the things that it was like a branching path, and the things that we were doing at our table could be the same or different than what people were doing at other tables. And if we completed an objective, then it would impact the entire room with some kind of a benefit. Same thing goes if like somebody at another table is doing a different one than we were. If they completed that objective, then like we might get some kind of boon. One of the boons was that uh, during the first round of the next combat, all the enemies were off guard to us. Another boon was that we were quickened for an entire encounter. And the way that people used that was interesting because at one table, the coordinator said the players were using it to cast like two spells in a round, which normally would be difficult in Pathfinder because they usually cost two actions. You only have three on your turn, but having that fourth action, it allowed like two action magic missiles, which pushed magic missile to the um, most amount of use in one turn that you would normally be able to. For our group, we used it in the last encounter, which was to disable a complex hazard. And normally, when you disable device in Pathfinder, it costs two actions. So having four actions, we were able to make two choices per turn when we were, or two attempts per turn to disable the device. So it was very handy for us. And another interesting thing with this multi-table event was that there was a lot of choices, a lot of points where you could choose to either fight a combat or do a skill challenge. So I think the idea of that was that the Pathfinder Society at large was working on the problem. So if like our table was doing the skill challenge end of it, even if no other table in the room was doing the combat, it's assumed that somebody in the Pathfinder Society world is doing the combat while the tables are working on the skill challenge end of it. But it just had a really cool epic scale feeling. Also, I'm not a big Starfinder person, but it was interesting because we actually ended up on another planet in the future during Starfinder time, and when we mentioned Galarian, Galarian was gone because Galarian doesn't exist in the future. So that was neat. And then the follow up, which they're going to run in the spring at MePaCon in the spring, is actually going to be run in Starfinder, where the things that we did in this Pathfinder game will impact the scenario that the Starfinders find themselves dealing with. So I thought that was pretty neat. Well, that's about all I have for today. I'm sorry we had some rude people in here earlier. Um, I was kind of hoping that we would have had, a better crowd for like me to interact with, but unfortunately, it seemed like just a bunch of rude people that wanted to riff. So um, I'm gonna take off, get back to my day, and I hope you have a good rest of yours. Bye.